So we don't know whose idea this was.
It was not mine. I definitively can tell you this was not my idea of this podcast.
I'm pretty sure I did not say we should do this. I mean, I agree with it, what we're going to talk about, but I'm pretty sure I didn't say we should do it. So, John, let's have a conversation, buddy.
Gas station peptides. I don't remember.
Welcome, everyone, to the most ill-conceived business podcast around, the Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick, and joining me are two gentlemen with no life goals, Jared Gibson, John Sirakis.
That's a good one.
That's actually so
based on what we just talked about, it is.
Yeah, we are actually, this is the first time I've had to do research. Like, I was given homework to do research for this podcast. We don't know who came up with it. We just know it wasn't me. It was probably John.
I think it was John.
I think it was Jared.
Yeah.
You've never done research?
I've never had to read a book for a podcast.
Oh, that's right. You did read a book.
A very good book, I might add.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was told to read the book Atomic Habits by, was it James Clear? Is it?
Yeah, James Clear.
James Clear? Okay. So this is episode 29, I think. Goals are bullshit, which might be a provocative statement for a lot of people out there. But there's a lot to this, and it's actually something it's funny because I was given the assignment to read this book, and I'm reading, I'm just like, yeah, this is all like second nature to me. Like, everything in here it was a good book, but I'm just like, I was more in my mind, I'm like, wait, people don't already know this? Like, I just assume this is what people thought about habits and process versus just like trying to speak things into existence. Anyways, John, why don't you kind of kick us off here and talk about the concept of goals versus habits and process and everything else that lead to success?
Yeah, so I think with my experience, my journey, as the trite kids like to say today, is I remember starting off in like late teens, and you're reading like self-help books, and there were books by Brian Tracy, right? There were two books I remember like very distinctly. There was like Get Stuff Done, or like everybody like calls it Get Shit Done. I can't remember that author's name. And then there was Brian Tracy. So I think it was just called Goals with like an exclamation point. So there was the Get Stuff Done book. And in the Get Stuff Done book, it's literally impossible to live this guy's life, like what he does. And I didn't realize this till later on. So you're kind of like just continually defeating yourself. So if your goal is to live the Get Stuff Done lifestyle, it's not. It's a brutal, torturous, nightmare. And then the Brian Tracy's book, the sentiment of that book is essentially write your goals down every single day, and then things are just supposed to happen, right? All right, fast forward, you realize like, okay, maybe writing your goals down is good because it's a reminder and stuff like that, and that's fine, but none of that shit actually works. Mm-hmm. So learning the hard way and then reading James Clear's book, you realize like it's all just process, right? Process and identity. And I think that for me is like, oh man, that's why I really like this book, right? So if you identify with whatever that thing is that you want to do, it has a lot of impact. And I think that's where people are like, oh, just find what you're passionate about. Every fucking billionaire, and they sell like, cans. Yeah, nobody's fucking passionate about tuna cans, right? But once you achieve this certain thing and then you're identifying with it and all these processes come into place, like, all right, that's a lifestyle. All these things mesh together. So for me, that had a profound understanding and a very positive impact. That's why I like the book. And I think people should really look at what, quote unquote goals actually mean.
Yeah, it resonated with me, and he made some really good examples that I think in the book that I think accentuated maybe some things I would have had a hard time articulating before. Specifically, when he talks about like the sports analogies. I hope you like sports if you're listening to this. Talking about how everyone who goes to the Olympics has a goal of winning the gold medal, but there's winners and there's losers. Like, just having the goal doesn't actually do anything at all. It's actually who puts in the work and creates the habits and the processes and whatever. And you could say, this doesn't have to be sports, it would be kind of anything in life. You can look around your office. Like, every salesperson wants to be the best salesperson in the office. Every salesperson wants to hit their quota, but some do and some don't. It's because who has the actual processes and the knowledge and put the time in to like continually better themselves. But you can either look at it from the opposite perspective. If like, pick any athlete you want to, you know what I mean? If Michael Jordan just wanted to be the best, or LeBron James, or anybody, if they didn't have the explicit goal of winning the championship, but they did all the things they did along the way, would they have not won the championship? Like, the goal itself, if you actually have the processes and habits and you're committed to just being great at what you do and getting better, the goals are irrelevant. Like, it's really just kind of comes down to what it is you do, and have you found a way to, make a habit and do things kind of consistently well. What the first time I knew, like, the business world was kind of bullshit, like my very first job out of school. And we had this kind of big sales kickoff meeting. And it was the first time I was introduced to the concept of like the hockey stick growth. If you guys don't know what that is, like, it's like shaped like a hockey stick. So like, you're going to be flat for the first quarter while everyone gets there. Then we're going to rip. We're going to go straight up and to the right. Like, we're just going to completely destroy everything out
early
there.
2000s forecast. Yeah.
So, and it's just like, okay, but how does that, like, but what do and it's, these are the processes, but isn't this what you guys already do? Like, following these kind of sales techniques? Like, what is new that's going to change? And it's just hopium, you know what I mean? And I feel like that is...
Hopium, I love that.
Yeah. I feel like that's and then I see it again, and like everyone who's followed like the SaaS sales market and how it's been a grind for everybody for the past several years now, like just having the damn goal doesn't do anything. And I would even go a step further. I believe that and I don't want to make this about strictly salespeople either, because I think this can be applied to anything. I think that every miserable buying experience that someone has talking to like a SaaS sales or any sales rep, comes from the fact that that rep was given goals as opposed to actual processes to follow. Because if you give someone a goal and tell them they have to hit it, but they don't actually know how, what do they ultimately end up doing is like the shittiest job to try and get there without actually they adopt bad habits at a rapid pace, as opposed to actually adopting good habits that will help them achieve it, which you see as a buyer as like, this guy sucks. Just throwing it out there. So
it's like a triage approach.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories in that book that he talked about was the Seinfeld story. And I brought this up before, the don't break the chain. I don't know if James, if you remember that, or John from the story, but he talks about how Jerry Seinfeld would, if this was a goal, he would have failed, right? Because goals assume that there's an end game, right? It's more of a commitment. A commitment is, I guess, a better word to use than a goal. But so Jerry Seinfeld every day committed to writing a joke every single day. And he had a big calendar on his wall in his room. And he had like Post-it notes by his bed, but he was committed. And most days he wrote more than one joke. But every day that he would write a joke, he would put an X on that day in the calendar. And his whole thing was don't break the chain, right? So if he were to skip a day writing a joke, it would completely break the chain and he'd have to start from scratch. If that was a goal of his to write a joke every day, the first day that he skipped, the goal's done. It's shot, right?
Yeah.
I think it just assumes that there's like, if it's either a yes or a no, it's a pass or a fail. There is like anybody can set like you talked about going to the championship, like in sports, winning a Super Bowl. Like, are you going to tell me that if your team's goal is to win a Super Bowl and you don't win the Super Bowl, is it all for naught? The journey, everything that you did to get to that point, to get to the game, is a complete shot? Like, it's done? I don't know. It's just, I think it's a fun buzzword for people to say, and it's cool to set your goals for the year and everything. And we've all done it. We've all set OKRs, like whatever you want to call them. But if you don't hit them, it doesn't mean you're a failure.
I would even say that goal setting is very much performative. Like,
yes,
you have to set goals so you can tell everybody else you set goals. You have to tell your board you set goals. You had to tell, but I legitimately think a lot of senior leaders who, because if you look at it this way, it's survivorship bias. There are some people who are naturally better salespeople than others without waking up in the morning. Not forever, but like you take two people, give neither of them training, one's going to outperform the other. It's just statistical fact, right? There's a lot of poorly trained salespeople who end up becoming executives because they just happen to have some natural skill and they were told to just grind, and that's who. And then they get to the top, and what ends up happening is that's all they know is like they happen to be good enough that they had that survivorship bias and enough natural skill where but they don't know why they were successful. Maybe they had good habits, but they weren't able to actually like articulate them or understand that it was their good habits that got them there, not the goals they were given. And what happens we're at the top when they don't have that kind of strategic mindset is let's just give everybody goals and everything will work out. And then the company never grows or nothing ever happens, so.
I think you need both though. Because like, okay, let's say that you're investing in something. The goal is like a certain revenue number, right? And then it's like, okay, like we have that revenue number, and then every other goal has to, fall behind it, right? So it's almost like that destination that, for better or worse, needs to be achieved, so people can keep their jobs in a lot of cases, and a company can make money. And I think the part that we get wrong though is like, it's just like, okay, well, we're just going to set that goal. It's like, no, like if you're going to set that goal, you have to have all of the other stuff that's in place. Like you have to have people that identify with that job. You have to have people that, follow a specific process, right? So they can get those things done. You got to make sure that they're doing the specific things, like I love streaks. That's, he calls it the chain, right? Like I love, all right, it's like you do all of these things in a specific day in a row. So I think if you don't have both of those, in a lot of areas, you're not going to be successful. Now, losing weight, I think, exercising and some of these things where there is not a destination, nothing dramatic is going to happen, whether it's going to happen, it's just, or whether you make it or not. I think
my goal is to work out 5 times a week. If my goal is to work out 5 times a week, that is, the why is usually to lose weight, right? I want to lose weight. My goal is to work out 5 times a week. You're setting yourself up for failure there, because it doesn't take into account the conditions that are going on in your world that day, right? It doesn't take into account the fact that the roads are closed or you're sick or whatever it is. So if you don't work out 5 days a week, every week, then you failed at your goal. So
it should be, just take steroids. And work out 1 day a week.
Cheat code.
Boom.
I mean, you hear, as a parent, you hear like, I want to be a better parent this year. My goal is to be a better parent this year. And it's like,
stop beating your kid. Done.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Well,
but it fails because like it doesn't take into that goal doesn't take into consideration things that may keep you from being a parent, work, your phone, just all these things.
In the grand scheme of setting goals, like that would be too amorphous, right? Because you guys remember the concept of SMART goals, right? Like, was it specific? Yeah. I mean, obviously, maybe I just understand. I can't remember the acronym. It's like SMART, actionable, time-based. Realistic is the R. What is the M? Measurable.
Measurable, yeah.
Right? Yeah, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and like time-based or whatever, right? So I think there's something to be said for that, right? So if you say like, all right, I'm going to be a better parent, you would still fire that hierarchy. But then again, if you still don't have all that other stuff, it's worthless.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing I was resonating when Jared was saying is like, you can't just speak things into existence. You can't just saying you're having a goal and it's just going to happen, which I think is where people kind of get crossed up, and I think that the most lacking skill, not just, I was going to say the business world, but like people in general, like people are terrible change managers. And it's probably the most important thing that you need to have to be successful in anything in life is managing like your own personal change in terms of how you get better at things, how your company gets better at things, how whatever you're doing gets better at things. And like enacting that and setting that in motion is something that people are just tend to be lousy at, because we're all inherently, everyone, and this actually might've been something something I kind of came to that book too. Like people will always opt for the path of least resistance. People will always opt for, the easiest way of getting from point A to point B. And if it's not, what am I trying to say here? You have to understand that that's the case. That's why you get so much DM spam in LinkedIn, because you can set up an automation, it pumps it out, and you feel like you're doing your job because you send out 100 messages a day, and your goal from your boss was to send out 100 messages that day. But they aren't good, they aren't relevant, they aren't timely. But it was, you were given a goal, you did the easiest, shittiest way to do it, as opposed to something that's actually going to be impactful for what you're truly trying to achieve.
And that's where I think too, goals can actually be dangerous, right? Because like, if you set something that you believe you want, but you're technically not being true to yourself on what you want, and you start like aiming for that thing and it's actually going against your identity, you're going to fail no matter what. So that's the thing I like in the book. It's like, what do you identify with? If you want to quit smoking, identify with somebody that is a healthy person, right? If you want to be better with your money, identify as somebody that is like, fiscally responsible, like those types of things. And it just blows my mind though, like, growing up and as we're raised, and maybe you guys like were, taught that in schools up north, not down here. You know what I mean? It was just like, all right, hey, none of that teaching is there. And I think that's really important for humans and especially children to grow up in that. And maybe, the next generation will have that.
Wait, say this again. What is
Yeah,
not
what?
taught in
Yeah.
the South that's taught in the North? I feel like I'm missing a key
Don't
developmental
don't.
phase here.
We were taught not to start smoking cigarettes at 7 years old. James was taught, or John was taught to start smoking at
This
7
is in
years old.
Kentucky.
Is that what you're saying?
In Virginia. No. What I'm saying is, I don't know if kids are taught, that to identify with something, right? To like part of your identity, like, because it's just like goals is essentially just something that, like you're saying, like to speak into existence and to achieve, right? Like you could set a lofty goal of something you believe you want, but it's completely not a part of your identity. So you really don't want it, but you think you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, I think it's around kind of the systems, like you talked about the systems that are in place. Like if you don't have the right system in place, you're never going to be able to achieve what you want. I think one of the things that they talk about in the book is like you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fail to the level of your systems that are in place. And if you don't have something that, yes, you have to want it. Obviously, you have to, these small habits are all part of building that system out to achieve what your ultimate goal is. Again, I just said goal, but it's almost like just now it's just like you just say it. It's just what you say, even though what I just said, I don't technically believe in, which now I'm confusing myself. All right, I'm out. All right.
So it's all paradoxical.
Well, John, you
Yeah.
and I can talk for the rest of this.
But my whole point is like my whole point is you have to have a system to achieve whatever you're setting out to achieve, and like if that is a goal, if that is a goal, and hey, if it's a pass fail and I fail at this, it's because I did not have the right systems or belief points in place that could create the habits for me to achieve that goal.
But one thing, flicking back to what this guy says, man, dude, we're all pretty much, crushing on this guy or the book. But this one always sticks with me too. Like, okay, and I think Jerry Seinfeld even said this, when you don't do like something that 2 days in a row, right? The habit, the chain, the streak, whatever you want to call it. Now you're creating a new habit. Right. So like that's something to me that I always think about now since I've read that book. And that's really important to me. Like I have a streak on Duolingo. Let me see what my streak is. I think it's like 5 or 6 years. And
I gave up on Duolingo because I realized I was not actually fucking learning Spanish. I was learning how to beat the Duolingo game, and I was learning like pattern recognition, but I definitively was not learning or how to understand Spanish at all.
So and they moved to chess, and so yeah, now I play chess on there. Yeah, so like every day, I'm playing chess. Let me see what my But yeah, dude, I've taken so many languages. 2,245 days is my Duolingo. Yeah. But I agree.
I had like a 2-year streak, and when I realized I still couldn't do a fucking thing, I was like, yeah, this is something about. I had the habit; it just wasn't a positive habit, in my opinion. It's like
aquí no se sabe, tú sabes dónde está.
Yeah, no, don't know. I guess I need to stick around for 5 years. But this, like, because Jared, were you guys? Did you guys any of your companies do EOS?
Yeah,
jobs?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
My mastermind group, we did like most agencies did it. We studied it. We kind of treated it like a buffet, but yeah.
Did you like it?
Me or John?
Me?
Either of you guys.
I liked some elements of it.
It taught me how to do better meetings, like in terms of organizing and structure.
For sure.
That's what I liked about it. I still think that like when they had their quarterly rocks and stuff like that, it was. And this was the disagreement we always had internally was, are these supposed to be metrics driven? Or because mine were always like, I need to do a process for this, I need to do a process for that, and then it was like, okay, but like, how's this going to impact revenue? Like, I don't fucking know. Like, it's if you do the right things and put the right processes in place, but like just saying, hey, I want to hit this revenue number doesn't help you hit the fucking revenue number. Like, it's just it's not actually improving the organization. It's just making you feel good that you say you think you're going to do that. So.
And I think that's the craziest thing about like forecasting, right? And then like you have all these earnings calls and like everything that somebody has to do. It's like, okay, like here's this revenue number that we need to hit, and then you just have all of these layers that have to figure out how that number is going to be hit, whether it's on a profitability standpoint or a growth revenue standpoint. And man, like it is a lot of guessing. It's that uncomfortable area. I was even thinking about it today. I was like getting some Chipotle, right? You know, you get the rewards. You get double protein for 700 points.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, steak's more expensive, right? So it makes sense for me to get steak with the 700 points. But like, there's some guy in the back that hasn't realized this yet. And like, they're just like, okay, yeah, we're going to lose out on the steak eaters getting double protein versus like the chicken eaters, right? So the point I'm making is it's never going to be perfect, but it's still important to try to stitch some of those things together.
I bet they did a lot of analysis on that, though. You know what I mean? But before they put this in place, they actually ran the numbers and figured out how many chicken eaters versus steak eaters they have, and who's going to double up their current order. I don't know.
I do. People get way more chicken there. I mean, it's yeah, definitely. I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm definitely a fan of chicken.
Off track.
Yeah, I know. I'm like literally thinking about them tight wrapping it right now. Like,
like how do I edit these things out? Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else kind of like, you know, what else kind of plays into it. I mean, like, I guess we missed the obvious one, like New Year's resolutions and shit like that, you know? It's a bunch of goals people set with no plan of how and as soon as they break it, they're like, oh, fucked it up this year. Like,
it's done.
You know, because I've always, I guess this is the reason why I wasn't like super about this book, because I thought like some of this, like, I've always had the mentality, if you can't do it every day, then you can't do it. Right? If there's something you're like, instead of trying to make wide scale big changes, like just try to, like, my mind is like, make a small change that you can actually stick to. Like,
can't's an interesting word. Can't though. Can't and want it's a very different words.
I hear what you're saying, but I think we're using words in two different contexts. What I mean is that if you're trying to make some sort of change that you can't stick to every day, like you're trying to make too big of a change. Like, if you have to start with small things you can actually handle, whereas like with most people, they set a goal, and to get to that goal, they make some unrealistic quote daily change that they have no chance of sticking to because it's just like too much for them. Then they fall out of it. Then the goal fails. You know, whatever. As opposed to just try to make small changes that you can actually stick to every day, and then see what happens. Like, you're going to be better off. You don't know exactly how much, but you know what? Like, it's not like setting some arbitrary goal was going to like be closer or further away from that. Like, what you get is what you get, you know, and whatever.
I think that's being realistic, though. Like that to me is like that's a very realistic and pragmatic type of thing. I think some of us dreamers are like, "Fuck yeah, moonshot, baby, we're gonna hit it." You know what I mean?
What is it? The big, hairy, audacious goals? Is
the big, what's your BHAG, bro? What's your BHAG? And you're like, ugh, I don't want to hear that, you know, acronym again. But I mean, going back to smoking, dude. I would tell myself I was going to quit smoking, like almost like every week. Like, oh man, yeah, this weekend. I mean, it was just crazy. It was something I never like really wrapped my head around. But I think that's also a positive. Never gave up, quit smoking. And I think the other thing too is what got me to actually quit was this very simple logical point. I was literally thinking, I was at this like leadership summit, and I was like, wait a second. So if I'm smoking and I'm thinking about quitting all the time, and there is no net benefit of that. But if I'm, you know, not smoking and I'm thinking about smoking all the time, I was like, the net benefit is I'm going to be healthier. And literally that's the day that I quit. It was crazy. It was just like this little mental thing that worked out for me. I mean, that was it. That's all I needed. But
little Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. My smoking story was, I realized that I was ready to settle down at this point in my life. And I realized like I would never marry a girl that smoked cigarettes. Just like I couldn't do it.
What about a man that smoked?
Well, that's a different story, but separate story, another podcast. But my whole point was like, I need to quit smoking. If I want to find somebody like to settle down with, I don't want to marry a smoker. Like, I don't want to be going on dates and be like, hey, on like dinner date, like, hey, you want to go outside and smoke, or can I go outside and smoke really quick? Right. So that was it.
Watch the kid.
Yeah, he's gonna watch the kids. I'm outside cranking a hoon. Like, I don't know. You
looking out the window.
Yeah. So that was it. That was literally the moment where I was like done. So at New Year's Eve, I went up to the rooftop I lived on, smoked a cigarette, last one, flicked it over. The next day, I was watching college football all day. I was like, if I can drink all day tomorrow and not have a cigarette, then I got this thing locked in. And
you replaced cigarettes with more drinking, and then
and littering. You know?
I mean, but it is. But that's what it is. I mean, that's when you're out and about, like you're just socially.
Honestly didn't know you guys were both smokers. How long did you guys both smoke for individually?
Too long. way too
Yeah.
long.
I
Longer
mean,
than I'd like to admit out
yeah.
loud.
I'd say I was smoking in my teens, and then I probably stopped when I was like 30. Yeah.
Yeah, mine was 30. I stopped when I was 30.
Yeah.
So
And I
probably
picked up
10,
chew.
12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a chaw? Just throwing a chaw in?
Chew.
Big pinch?
Dude, I love, man. Dude, that was so good, man. The what do you call it? Chewing tobacco. Oh, Red
dude.
Man, dude. It's so sweet and
That's
amazing.
nasty.
You don't like it, Jared? You never tried it, Jared?
No, fuck no.
Oh,
No,
dude,
no.
don't knock it till you try
I think
it, man.
I think I tried it like Sandlot style, like a little kid playing baseball, and
you
like,
ate it
pretty
like
much
a
had the
salad?
same reaction they did.
I missed out on so many things, guys. Never smoked. Never did chewing tobacco. Never did cocaine. Now you can't even do that because everything.
I've never
is
done
for
coke
fentanyl,
either,
so-
man. With a nose my size, no. I can't. Nobody let me near it.
Yeah. Never really did any kind of fun drugs, whatever. Now I'm too old. So.
I love the fact that this went from goals to what drugs have you done.
No, never. Very boring.
James's goal this year is to try cocaine for the first
Try
time.
cocaine. Try to find. But anyways, I was gonna go on you can't even do cocaine. My friends who used to do cocaine stopped cocaine when they found out everything's laced with fentanyl and you're like playing Russian roulette.
Yeah,
all
that's
the time.
terrifying,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Whew. God, talk about a gambler. Man.
Yeah. Let me rephrase that. James's goal this year is to find cocaine that is pure and not laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
I just need to get someone else to do it
Peruvian red
first.
flake.
And then
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything else in the goals topic?
Hey,
to talk
I
about?
did-
Speaking of
actually,
goals, though, I got to tell this funny story. Right? There was this guy. He had this it was a nonprofit organization. He was about 10 years older than me. This was, I don't know. I was probably right around like 30 around this time. And he came into the agency and wanted us to help his his foundation like grow and all that. And I was introduced to him through a friend. Fast forward to like 10 weeks later. The foundation's out of money. He spent all the money. It kind of turns out it was like a scam, but it wasn't a scam. He just wasn't running it the proper. He gets thrown in jail because one of the guys that donated money kind of said some things. He gets out of jail. His life is completely fallen apart. And then he comes to my office. He's like, "Hey, I got a very important question for you." I was like, "All right, that's cool." And he comes over and he shows me this picture of like it was like a trunk full of like big bricks of weed, right? And he says, he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Can you help me move these?" And I was like, "Dude, like I'm a fucking business owner here. Like what the fuck do you want me to do?" And I just saw him like click. He's like, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing this." I was like, no, man. And he's like, "All right," he like pats me on the shoulder. He's like, "Take it easy." It's like that was it. But just watching the wheels turn and like his marriage fell apart. He was in jail. And I mean, he was around some like decent people, but like all of this happening and then coming there was just like, wow. And good guy. I mean, decent guy. But anyway.
You helped set him on a trajectory of better
I
life
don't think
goals.
so. I just think it was probably me and like, there's like probably 20 other people. And then it was just kind of like, oh yeah, this guy's saying this thing too, man. I probably shouldn't be doing this.
Can you help me move this?
You come, look at like looking around, like what the fuck? Like I've given no indication that I know how to, the logistics of, distributing, at the time illegal weed. Yeah.
God, John, Florida, what a life. I do want to go back to the book because I don't remember. There's something that talked about like each day, a new habit each day, and it talks about the percentage that you're better by the end of the year. I think it's like 37% if you do. James, do you remember what that stat was that he talked about in the book?
Well, I could have asked Claude this had I known this was coming, but I think it was just like if you can get 1% better at something, 1% compound in the course of a year is like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not that good at math, but it's just it's that part resonated because I mean I've said on this podcast and a million other times, other places, the whole like compound knowledge, like if you can just, but this is also compound habits, so kind of a similar concept where you just like slowly get better at something, whether it's a skill you're doing at work or something in your personal life, and just commit to getting slightly better at it. Like over the course of a year, you're going to be, fundamentally significantly better than you were kind of when the year started, but it really takes kind of a daily gain to do that. Maybe someone listening to the podcast can actually do the math for me real quick and drop in the comments.
Yeah, because we're doing a live podcast, James. Yeah,
They
drop
think
it in the
it's-
comments on this live podcast.
People are always commenting on LinkedIn Live thinking that's live. So
All right. All right. Well, let's make a commitment this year. No goals, commitments.
no goals.
No goals, commitment by the end of the year.
Committing to no goals.
No, you're committing. What are you going to commit to this year? Because I was thinking about this actually before we went on. I was like,
Should have shared that with me.
I was playing around in Claude, and I had breakfast this morning with a few guys who were talking about how they're into Claude coding and describing it as like something that anybody could do. So I'm thinking about like all the ways that in my personal life, like family life, like what can I build that would help make our lives easier through Claude coding? So my commitment is to do something, try something out, like learn something new every single day, like just continue to get better at it. Why not? What about you fellas? Let's get serious here. We already know James wants to try pure cocaine. John, what about you?
I want to try stepped on cocaine.
Stepped on cocaine, gas station cocaine.
Yeah,
That's what that sounds like.
There you go. Yeah, right off the the toilet seat.
It is funny that last episode I told you guys that I looked up how many times we said the word fuck, and it was 61 times, which is insane. Probably a little bit too much.
Crazy movie.
What was the breakdown? Was it mostly me, or was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was you. It was you. You went all in last.
You were being kind by saying we, when really it was just
we.
me.
Yeah.
So I said
this is a
fuck
team
61
effort.
times, and
This is a team
You'll make
effort.
me feel like I only said it 20 by saying it was a team effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Team effort. But I wonder how many times if I pull the word cocaine, it's going to pop up on this episode.
It'll be the most widely used word on this. We maybe for future podcasts, we should actually start by saying what was the most frequently used word in the previous podcast, and just see if,
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good one.
I think we're spinning off here. Jared, I have no interest in making any commitments right now, especially on a whim without having thought of this beforehand. I'm glad you thought of one beforehand and dropped it on us, though. For John is too.
You got it. Just that should be your goal for next episode. See what I did there?
Yeah.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Business of Bullshit podcast. Catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
Not our best.
James Hornick, Jared Gibson, John Sarakis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.
I truly love that book. Like I think it's like a great book.
That right there just tells me that it was John's idea to do this podcast.
I just totally your fucking idea, man.
No, I know it wasn't your idea.
Just like you get upset about me saying gas station peptides. I'm like, you're the one who said the joke first. I was repeating your fucking joke.
I didn't ever say that. Here's the funny thing, though. I was telling Jared, I was out shopping, getting some stuff, because I'm about to be traveling, and then I'm going over to my business partner's house, and I was excited to watch the video. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I play it, and as soon as I say that, I pause it. He's like, did he just say gas station peptides? And I was like, yeah. He's like, who the fuck is that guy? And I was like, it's like, he's my boy. We do the podcast together. He's like, why would he say that?
Well, the best part is that Jared's like, where'd you come up with that? That was pretty good. I'm like, I don't know, John said it. It's the only thing I fucking remember from the entire conversation. So John's it was so funny that I'm like, I'm gonna refer to anything ever as gas station whatever. That's like a fucking slight. I'm like,
it's like, but
it doesn't even sound like something I would say. It sounds like something you would say.
In the moment, I was like, gas station peptides. I hit it. I was like, what the fuck? And he's looking at me. And then I was like, all right, whatever. I